Not too much, Mayor. Football season's about to really get started.
Right. High school's already started.
Yeah, I was in Partyville last week Friday. We had a running clock in the first quarter by mutual consent.
Really? We had to stop watching.
Well, it was Partyville and Cedar, and it was 34-0 in the first quarter. And then Cedar coach asked if they could go to 8-minute quarters in the second half rather than 12. You can do anything that he will agree to, meaning the other coach.
You want to get out of there?
He was fine with it, so 8-minute quarters.
Right? Well, does that one, the wires does that one?
Public Safety Committee meeting comes to order at 6 p.m. on Monday, August 26th. Thank God.
Take the roll.
Roll, please.
Alderman Schmidt,
Here.
Alderman Leibnow,
Here.
Alderman Baker.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Approval of the minutes of the July 22nd, 2024 Public Safety Committee meeting.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Citizen comments
Yes,
for public safety.
yes. So I'm told.
You're on.
State your name and address for record.
Rick Reichreitz, 1082 Crystal Lane, Mayville. My comment is in regards to the noise complaint I received last week, Saturday. I had a live band in my driveway, an acoustic guitar and drums. This was the 4th consecutive year at the same party. Never had a problem before. One of Mabel's finest had to come over because it was an anonymous complaint. Let me put it on the record that the police officer couldn't have been more polite or courteous. He was outstanding. As I was read the city ordinance, no amplified sound after 5 p.m. and before 9 a.m. Not to be heard more than 200 feet from its origin. Well, I don't think I have to tell anybody, if you've had kids that went through high school and they had a graduation party, if you had any music on outside whatsoever, 200 feet does not have to go too darn far, especially depending on the wind direction. In researching some of the local communities, most of the other ones tend to be the same 7 to 9 a.m. for a start time, but they tend to end at 9 or 10 p.m. rather than 5 p.m. So for anybody, including myself, in the future for the city of Mayville, if you're having anything sitting outdoors and you have a radio on, you've now technically broke your own city ordinance.
Not the way I play mine.
This on the agenda?
200 feet with the right wind direction, they'll carry a long ways. Especially if you have enough people around.
What time did the complaint come in?
That I couldn't tell you, the police officer showed up about 9:15, 9:20.
Item 5.
I had done some research in the past and I was told that quiet time in Mayville was 11, so I always ended it by 9:30. I was told that's incorrect, and that's why I'm here to see what can or can't be done. My question is, the downtown events, whether it be music at the park, music at the square, Audubon days, does that fall under a public, it gets excluded from the rule? Or does that fall under the same process that I just fell under? They're starting at 6, ending at 9, but technically they're breaking the same rule. And by God, Mayor Belt knows I'm a longtime high school coach, now a longtime high school official. The last thing in the world I want is for anything that's happened to this city to end. I want it all to continue. I'm a huge proponent of everything being city related. If it's good for the city, I'm on board.
I think we have this on the agenda for discussion tonight.
So ask a question if you want, I'll answer it if I can. Otherwise, gentlemen, thank you for hearing me. Ladies, thank you again.
Yeah, it's item number 5, so when we
Thanks,
get to it, we'll discuss it. Item number 1, monthly fire department report, and there is none. So we'll go to item number 2, monthly police department report.
Good evening. I was gonna give you a general rundown of where we're at for the year. We're at full staff, we've been at full staff all year. Our complaints right now, as of the end of July, we're at 3,050 complaints for the year. That's up quite a bit from last year. I can kind of give you an idea of where we at with complaints. July, we had 386 complaints. Last year, we had 391. June of this year, we had 449 complaints. Last year, we had 353. May, we had 473 complaints. Last year, we were at 402. And that kind of trend kind of continues through the year. So the complaint numbers are up. And I thought also that it would be a good idea to kind of give you an update as far as our overtime numbers. There's always a question of, it just came up with budget, how we should budget overtime and that. But I'll give you kind of an idea of what our overtime goes for, and maybe we can make better decisions in the future with it. So from operational, so this would be calls that we take where it takes longer than the officer's work shift to complete. For the year, 93 of our total overtime hours were for operational calls where officers had to stay late. Operational open shifts. So these are shifts that are open generally because of vacation, the way the union contract is designed. If officers take out full rotations, there's generally 2 days to fill 24 hours. So 338 and a half hours. This is through mid-August too. 338 hours of overtime is because of operational or open shifts. For the year, 94 and a half hours for court time. Special events, this is going to be for anything from football games to Audubon days to National Night Out, any of those kind of things. Also, our Citizens Police Academy is 196 hours of overtime. Training equated for 66 and a half hours of overtime. And drug task force, which we were actively involved in through our own investigations and countywide investigations, was 67.75 hours of overtime. So just kind of give you an idea of how we fluctuate with overtime and what we're actually using it for. So just an update on that. I don't know that that's ever been talked about before, but it could be interesting, just from a budgetary standpoint. Like I said, we're at full staff. We currently are involved and have been involved in a number of community events. We just did National Night Out this year, which was very successful. We involved more of the department heads and departments of the city in it this year, and it was a lot of fun. We also completed a full Citizens Academy this year of 7 weeks, where we had citizens come in and they learned the functions of the police department. We did a 3-hour class on Thursday nights, and that went really well. We're looking forward to do that again. We did Rock and Boom, which was very successful. To the organizers of that, I have to give them props because it was very well organized, and it was organized in a fashion that kept everybody safe, and it worked out really well. Looking forward, Audubon Days is coming up in a couple of weeks. Look forward to seeing everyone there. Myself, my staff will be involved in the entire weekend. Currently, school has just started. We are involved with all of the schools, including the parochial schools, for safety concerns, safety organization. We are scheduling and we'll be doing lockdown events and evacuation events, and we're going through all of our processes and keeping communication clear and with all the schools. That's all going on right now. And that's kind of like our current theme. St. John's started school today. And then I'll also give you an update. This is emergency management, but tornado sirens, they are all currently working as we know. And the city administrator and myself are working towards 2025 and looking at a better system and getting things in place for that. So we're actively doing that. But right now, all the tornado sirens are currently working, especially with the heat and the threat of weather the next couple of days. I thought I mentioned that. And then lastly, budget 2025, we're all working through that right now. And we're looking forward to 2025 and going through with the full staff that we have now. And things are looking good at the police department. questions?
With the tornado sirens, do we still have to pay that $114,000?
Well, myself and the city administrator are working with the vendor. We do have that price down to about $105,000 or so. But we're still kind of actively engaging and working towards that, so. But that's a completely new system. Well, we're using some of our old pieces, but it will be a much better updated system than what we have now. So,
Anybody else have any
any
questions?
questions?
Thank you, Chief. Monthly EMS department report.
Good evening. So as you know, we continue to be extremely busy. You hear our sirens with their sirens all the time. Last week, we had 3 calls in the middle of the day for all 3 ambulances out. And we had a 4th call out in front of Piggly Wiggly. Now, the 4th ambulance is not completely up and running yet, but we got the final pieces today. We did have staff that responded, but not in the 4th ambulance at that time. So as soon as we finished, Devin just reported today that we got the final pieces for our radio. We have to have the cot switched out of that ambulance, so we'll make that happen relatively soon. And we also need to change our license to include 4 ambulances at this time. Doesn't mean that we always have to have 4 ambulances, but we do have to have them all included in our licensure. Our staffing numbers are great. We're very happy with where we are with staffing. We still are, we just hired one not too long ago, an average first responder that was already licensed. So we still, any people that come to us that already have a license, we do consider them, look into their background, and if they're a valuable member of our team, we certainly are gonna add them on. And we took him on most recently to add that. That's a good problem to have. We're not advertising, we're not sending anybody to school currently, and that's a pretty good place to be as far as EMS goes. Equipment, we just talked about that, the 4th ambulance, the new ambulance is here, has been for quite a while. We could not get the radio, it was a supply chain issue, and so we finally have all the pieces for that. So we can get that installation done, and then we will get the cot moved on to that one. And our 4th ambulance, which we discussed and you approved for interfacility transports for the most part, is not gonna have that fully loading system that we currently have. We have looked into some options. Julie's gonna talk about our school.
So last week we started I think it's our 7th EMT basic class. That started last week and will end in January. So we're really excited about that. We have a great group of instructors, and we have a few people from Mayville, but we have them from Waupun, the rest kind of all over the place. So we're not only doing it for our own community, but for the communities around us, and I think it's going to come out great. So.
And one of the big things that they're working on is we're currently working on policies and procedures for when we do start our own school, and also we're working on our policies and procedures for interfacility transport. So it's going to take us a little bit. We're hoping to be rolling with that by October 1st.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Christine?
This is still on a temporary basis
Yeah.
until further with the 4th ambulance, right? To make
Right.
sure it works out.
Yep.
All right.
Yep, definitely temporary. We thought we'd talk about it in a year, see where we're at least they'll talk about it in a year.
Just wanted to make that clear that this is I hope it works out.
Yep, I do too, Bob.
Anybody else have anything for him? Thank you. 26 and 27. I think you were going to be able to see that.
It's on 2 agendas tonight, so it's on the finance committee and public safety. My recommendation to you is to continue the trend that we started many years ago and move towards the 10%. I think in 2026, you're probably going to be having a different conversation with these municipalities as far as what that percentage looks like at that time. I see this trending in a way that we've talked about for all these years. Anybody that attended the meeting that we had and was there, Stephanie was there, I think Kim, you were there too, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, so, and Bob, you were there. They have been well advised that there's going to be a time where it's not going to be the 10% annual increase, as our need for full-time employees continues to increase, if we're picking up on one side or the other, those contracts are gonna look very different for all of them. But I think due to the percentage of calls that actually are in their area and their populations, I think that this is a fair compromise to continue every year at that 10%. That's a pretty big ask for somebody's budget, and they've been great to do that right alongside of us, which has made a difference in us being able to not, I mean, we've been borrowing for part of the ambulance. At times, we almost pay for the entire thing. It just depends on what the repairs are and needs are for our equipment during that time frame.
Anybody have any questions? Thank you. Okay. Regarding the contract renewals, anybody want to make a motion to send that to council?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by DeBaker. Second. Second by Levenow. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Discuss with possible action of Mayville 317.5, loud and unnecessary noise.
Yeah, I put this on the agenda because I had a complaint from Mr. Brickwright. And looking into some of our ordinance, you know, we're not consistent. I mean, he's right, it says that we have to have no amplified music after 5. So, but then we also have another part of the ordinance that says that quiet hours are like after 9 p.m., right? And so I can't have an amplified equipment playing music, but I can have a chainsaw at 7 o'clock at night running and cutting down a tree. I mean, some of this stuff there should be a little bit more consistency on what the hours of operation are.
Does it specify during the week or on the weekend, or is it just 5 o'clock?
No, it's just 5 o'clock.
I'm trying to ask a question, Lynn.
You want to ask a question?
You're the chairman, I have to ask you if I can ask one.
Yes, sir.
All right. Seeing as I'm the old guy here, no, one of the old guys. We used to have a block party ordinance, if you remember, Mayor, that allowed, and I think you were a freshman at the time, Chief, weren't you? We used to have a block party ordinance. We used to have people apply for a permit to have a block party.
Correct.
We don't have that anymore, or
I think you can still apply for it.
you can still, so if you apply for a permit, it used to cost, I don't know,
Right.
$20 or something. And you could have amplified music and you could even add a bonfire to it, I guess.
But I don't think we have an ordinance on a block party permit, do we?
We had something at some time. I'm not.
I don't know if it's been overridden by this, but you're right, it is inconsistent and we should have a way, you know what I mean? People have graduation parties all the time.
Right.
And I know sometimes they have a tent out there, but we should find a way to fit this into, you know what I mean? We have an ATV ordinance now where they're allowed to make noise till whatever it is, 9 or 10 o'clock. It is inconsistent and it's unfair and it shouldn't be, it should,
I can explain the ordinances if you want. I think it would make it clear.
okay, good.
I think we're talking about a couple different things with this. And one thing to note about the ordinance itself is I understand it says 200 feet to that, but what the ordinance specifically says is the sound amplifying equipment, which is what the argument is tonight, is that it shall be permitted only to publicize events of community-wide interest and importance, which are non-commercial in nature. This was a ban at a private residence in a residential neighborhood. I think that's the part of the ordinance that where we wouldn't allow something to that nature to occur in a residential neighborhood. Now, also understand that regardless of what the times are for what is considered, I think, from a socially acceptable standpoint, what is necessary for commerce or for husbandry or whatever they define it as to take care of your property. And that's like contractors starting at 7 in the morning, or they're using a chainsaw or pouring concrete or whatever, and that they're done at 9. That's what that ordinance, those times are designed for and what they're in the ordinance for. And they're not specifically in for the sound amplifying equipment. Sound amplifying equipment, that's for a commercial purpose. And it would be for, if someone were to set up downtown tomorrow and decide to, use sound amplifying equipment for a religious purpose or something like that, that's happened before, that they have to be done at 5 o'clock. Or music, which has been done, we used to play music on top of one of the buildings for a while there, Christmas music or whatever, had to be shut off at 5 o'clock, that's what this purpose is. In this situation, although I don't want to be the killer of fun, and I'm all for a good time as much as anybody, and it would be a great time to have a band in your driveway, and I'm sure it's happened the past couple of years and no one's complained. But the bottom line is that the noise ordinance itself, minus the sound amplifying equipment purpose, states that no person shall make or cause to be made any loud, disturbing, or unnecessary sounds. And I think the word unnecessary sounds is what this ordinance in this situation should be defined as. Is, yeah, I know it's fun to have the band and we want to have a good time, but is that necessary for the function of living in a residential neighborhood? The answer is no. And if it bothers someone, the ordinance says if it disturbs a person of ordinary sensibilities, and this complaint came in at 9:18, and I wasn't there, I didn't witness it. It came in at 9:18 according to the report, and the officer described that the noise could be heard from blocks away. And that in any public, along a street or private residence, or that would be considered disturbing in nature. And there are just some people that go to bed at 9 o'clock, or trying to get their kids to go to bed at 9 o'clock, or elderly people that go to bed way before that. And we have to try to create a balance as the police or as a community to the sensibilities of those people and the people that want to play music in their driveway. So when our officers respond to these things, we try to be courteous to all of that. And yeah, we didn't want to just stop the party because, that wasn't the point of it. But there was someone that it was disturbing their peace in their residence. And we looked at it from a reasonable, how would someone from a reasonable position outside of this look at this situation? And we enforced the ordinance as loud and unnecessary noise. I know the officer told them about the sound amplifying equipment, but even more specifically, it's really the unnecessary sounds. And music in a residential area, it would be considered unnecessary. Where if you compare it to doing yard work or trying to clean up your yard or cut a tree down that fell or whatever, to me, when I go to a complaint like that and someone's making noise at 7 o'clock in the morning, I consider that a necessary function of keeping your yard up and to make sure that you're following all the other ordinances that go with keeping your yard up. So all of those things come into place and how these ordinances are worded and how we enforce them when we go and, go to a case like this. And it's not a personal thing, but we're taking much more into consideration than just the people that are trying to have a good time. We're trying to take everybody else's peace and sensibility into it as well. So in this case, the officer made contact, asked them to turn it down. They were very cooperative, and it just kind of ended that way. But I don't see this situation as any reason to modify or change the ordinance as it was written, and how it was intended to be, addressed when things come up. So
The secret is invite the neighbors.
I did.
And that's sad that neighbors, anybody can do that.
If anybody within the immediate vicinity was told and was made aware that it was going to happen weeks in advance.
Sorry to hear that, but
Nothing I can do about that.
I know.
I empathize with the kids. They want to have a good time and they want to have fun. They want to have a party. They want to have music. But that's why we have parks and that's why we have halls to rent for that type of thing. There was a time, oh God, it's got to be 15, 20 years ago when I was an alderman, same district. And those taverns along, where's that? Where's Boudreaux's? What's Boudreaux's? What's the name of that road?
Oh, Buchanan.
Buchanan Road, yeah. They wanted to have a thing in the back of the tavern there, like a regular,
Yeah, it was.
for loud, for not loud, but band music and stuff like that. And they were gonna do it every night. And I went throughout that whole neighborhood there and talked to the people, and every one of them said, absolutely not. Most of them are young parents, they've got young kids, they sleep early, or they try to sleep early. And if you've got loud music going, it really is prohibitive for a young family, and that's not what a residential neighborhood is for. That's my feeling on it. So I agree with the chief. I don't think we should change the ordinance. I think that we've got facilities that are available for parties and stuff like that. You know, yeah, it's cheaper to have it in your yard, but you've got people all over the place that have young kids. And if you're disturbing their young kids' sleep, and they have to get up with them all night long because they're crying, because they're tired, and they weren't able to sleep when they normally sleep, that can be irritating too, so that's, you know. So, and we did not allow the taverns to do that back then. And I don't blame the people that live there, I really don't. So,
Can I rebut to something?
sure,
So Cedarburg just hit the news about the very same subject, but more or less about commercial uses, having acoustic bands outside of bars
yeah,
to draw people. Did you happen to see that? And what the noise level was that they were talking about?
I saw the paper.
65 decibels. You know what 65 decibels is? That's a car driving past the road,
Probably less than what we're talking right now.
more or less.
I understand that, but you have to understand that people in residential neighborhoods, most of them are young families and they've got young kids that, some of them are babies and some of them are toddlers, but nonetheless, they usually sleep early. And I don't blame the people for not wanting those things. It's a residential neighborhood. You move into these residential neighborhoods because they are quiet. So I can see their point of view. And you know, like I said, if you want to party, well, then you go to an area or a specific place where parties are acceptable. You know,
I'm not sure that there's an actual area that if you had music of any sorts, I wouldn't be infringing upon somebody's household being in the immediate area,
well, I think if you're.
other than being indoors.
If you're in, well, yeah, if you're in the park, people that move into those areas are familiar with the park, they know what it is, and they're gonna be a little bit more adaptable to that sort of thing, but like I say, if it's a strictly residential neighborhood and the squad man said he heard it coming from blocks away, that's not,
Wind
Quiet.
happened to be coming out of the
Yeah.
north, and I live as far north as you can possibly be in the city of Mayville. I walk up my backyard and I'm in Pekoski. So if I had pointed in the other direction, you wouldn't have heard it. The wind just happened to be carrying it, and it happened to be carrying it. I'm not disputing anything that the officer said, it's all
Yeah.
true. But if the wind direction changes, it also changes how far or how close you can hear it from. If they were playing in my driveway, and if any of you had been there, you'd understand.
well, I understand. I lived in Milwaukee and I had a
From
band right across the street from me.
20 feet from the speaker, I could have this conversation with you without a raised voice.
Yeah. Well, all I
But
know is
it
in a
falls under-
residential neighborhood, it's,
Some gray areas, which is why I brought up other people having not just a band in my driveway, but if I have a radio on past 5 PM, I technically just broke the law.
well, not really. I played a radio in my backyard, I keep it low, so that only us, myself, and who's ever sitting there with me can hear it. And it can be done. It can be done. You know, you just, but a band is made to be played loud. I've never seen a quiet band yet.
Acoustic guitar. The drums were louder than the guitar.
Yeah, and that could be aggravating if you've got a little child that's trying to sleep.
Anybody else got anything to add?
Anybody else have anything to say?
I just wish neighbor would talk to neighbor. It doesn't have
I
to
do
go
too.
that far.
I wouldn't have been here.
It's sad.
And then
Quite frankly, they have better things to do.
I was gonna ask, how many noise complaints do you respond to every year?
Well, we take quite a few, and it's for a number of different things, but
But not live music in the garage?
not live music in the garage, no.
You've never given a ticket or shut anybody down, you just don't talk to them.
Yeah, we just talk to them.
Yeah.
We generally get cooperation. look at this.
Right, it's all discretionary. If it's blatant, obviously, you know. So,
So anyhow, I mean,
I do like to make a change to it, if we can make a, like, language change to it, like you said, quiet times. I do like that, because there's consistency on that. If I am playing amplified music in my garage, you know, before 7 o'clock in the morning, I could actually get a call.
oh, well,
You know, so, or even after 5 o'clock, you said 5 it is. So I'm still grilling out after 5 o'clock. I get home
Yeah.
from work at 6 and I crank up the tunes, I can have a beer and grill. So I could technically get called
yeah, but there, is it necessary to crank up the dudes, you know?
on a day like this. You bet.
Uh,
That's age difference, Michael.
You're right, that's age difference.
Maturity difference.
Right.
So anyhow,
You might be surprised at what he played.
Vintage.
Honest to God, you might be surprised at what he was playing. Anything from Johnny Cash and Willie Nelson to Tom Petty and anything in between. It was a
oh,
very
I
wide
understand
range.
that, I enjoy a good band. I enjoy a good band just like anybody else does. But there's places for those things.
I'm not disputing what you're saying, Alderperson, but what time is an appropriate time? Is 5 PM too early?
Yeah, I would say that might be too early, but you.
I guess that's what I'm asking, is 5 PM too
You get
early?
closer to 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, people are trying to put their young kids to bed. That's when it gets to be a noise problem, you know? And it just depends on who your neighbors are and what they're doing at the time,
Not disputing anything.
you know? But if you get complaints, you have to take action, and that's what the ordinances are for.
When they came and talked to me, it was immediately taken care of.
I understand that, and we appreciate that. We really
But I
do.
was
Nobody
misinformed.
wants to be a party pooper, so to speak.
I was misinformed because I had done some research before I ever started the very first one.
Mhm.
And I was told 11 PM.
11 PM?
That's what I was told by somebody
What
who
about some
was,
poor guy that has to go to work at midnight?
if I did it every weekend, I'd be probably much more understanding, but
City events, I think is 11.
At city events, it's 11 generally, but that's also something that is talked about and brought to the council and council approved
Yeah,
for a public event.
and they're usually in the downtown area or in a park.
And council approves that.
So there's a big difference than a residential neighborhood.
so if I were to have a block party, then how would I go about doing it? Because everybody in the block was aware that it was occurring. In fact, there were a lot of people sitting outside on their deck in the immediate area listening that told me after they heard that I unfortunately had a visit from people who have better things to do than visit me. I understand why they get it, and I'm completely understanding of that fact.
So would a block party permit, would that still allow for loud music or not?
You can have a block party permit, but you still have your
Around the time, yeah.
the city's still responsible to the residents that don't want to be a part of the block party.
So
You
5
can't
o'clock
require
still
those
is.
people to be a part of that. And if something's happening in the street, which is a public place, and it's causing a disturbance for someone, they don't want the noise or don't like the noise, then we have to follow the ordinance and we have to stop whatever that action is. And that's just the nature of it, is we
You
just
tell
gotta have to be
yourself that with
responsible
teenage
for our-
kids, 7, 8 o'clock, they're just getting wound up. They're not started yet. They're getting wound up.
Yeah, every other
And it's
year
gonna
by
go to
9:30,
9, 10,
we were
11
shut
o'clock.
down.
Pardon?
Every other year by 9:30, we were shut down.
You know,
Not by them, but by ourselves. So I purposely had it, we were just standing around at that point, but the music was every other year prior to this.
Well, obviously you disturbed somebody because they got a call,
Well, that's quite obvious.
you know, so, and that's what the ordinances are for.
Tony, you have something to say?
I'd like to make a motion.
Okay.
I don't think it does any harm to bring it in front of the commission, to look at the ordinances and be consistent.
Through the council.
Council, sorry. So I move that we bring this to council.
In what capacity? To revise it,
So
to,
possibly revise.
Revisit the orders.
What to change?
I believe so.
Change the time.
We could always, or you could bring it back to committee next month to work out the nuts and bolts there, whatever is preferred.
Yeah. Bring it to committee.
It's your motion.
Bring it to
Back to committee,
committee.
discuss the times. And what that date will be for the public and really, committee. I just bring my calendar with me. Does anybody have a calendar with them?
Yeah,
The 23rd
23rd?
of September.
still need a second.
Yep, still need a second.
I'll second that. Okay, 23rd of September.
Provided I'm not doing a high school football game,
And then take a vote.
but thank you.
Okay, we've got a motion to send this back to committee to discuss the timing and everything else. Would you take a vote, please?
Sure. All in favor?
Was there a second?
Yep.
Yeah, I second.
Leave-
Yeah,
Alderman
Lehman, I'll
Lee
second it.
So all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, well, if you wanna, if you can come on that night, that would be great.
23rd at 6 o'clock?
Yes. Sure. Yes. So as a matter of fact, just to be accommodating, you know, if you do have a football game, maybe.
I just looked, I will double check, but
I can get you on right away and get out of here.
if I have a football game, it would be starting at 4:30 up at the high school.
We know where you stand. We just want to look at the ordinances and the times.
I could bring down other neighbors that could speak to this thing in
It's up to
the
you,
past,
sir.
but that is up,
It's up
If
to
you'd
you.
like to hear from them.
That is-
because I was asked.
That's why we have these meetings, it's up to you.
Whatever works for you, works for me.
I say that more the merrier, so do that. No,
We'll see what I can do.
yeah, it's on Monday.
Okay, item number 5, adjournment.
Oh, no.
So moved.
Got a motion?
I second.
Second, all in favor? Aye. That's when we'll leave.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to call to order the Public Works Commission meeting at 6:34. Please take the roll.
Alderperson Bob Smith.
Here.
Alderperson Tony DeBaker.
Here.
Alderperson Michael Schmidt.
Here.
There is a quorum.
Item number 1, approval of the minutes from July 22nd and July 24th. Those were, I think, combined meetings.
Yep, so,
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Item number 3, citizen comments. Seeing none. Item number 4, discuss with possible action, monthly fire department report to Public Safety Committee. Is there a,
Public Works.
oh, Public Works, I'm
Works,
sorry.
Public Works Department.
I'm sorry. Yeah. I thought I was prepared. Just didn't bring my pills with me.
It was this from Jake,
Pardon me?
this report.
No, DPW, Jack
No,
Hurst.
Public Works report, I have that, somebody gave it to me.
Yep.
And let's see. You want to read Jack's report?
I can certainly do that for you.
Okay.
Jack Hurst sent a brief email. He said that they've been doing curb and gutter repairs as well as quite a few catch basin repairs. They are still doing brush pickup twice a month. They are doing street sweeping. They have vehicle repairs that they've been doing. They perform maintenance on library air conditioning units. Their Diggers Hotline calls or work has been up. They're doing curb and crosswalk painting. It is almost complete. And then lawn cutting and trimming, and then general day-to-day operations. So that was his report.
I would like to say that I think that the DPW here in Mayville does a wonderful job. Obviously, we know in the wintertime, you can see the plowing results. And I think our streets are as clean, or cleaner than almost anybody else's in this southern part of Wisconsin. But they do a wonderful job on everything, especially the picking up of weeds and brush and stuff like that, because they come out and when they clean up, it's clean. I mean, it is clean. So I think they do a good job and they need that, a little bit of a thank you.
I can't argue with that. Let's see, any other comments about the Public Works report?
I have a question.
Well, certainly, Kim.
When the actual curb breaks away, is that part of DPW that takes care of that?
My memory is, when I was on, I can't remember which committee I was on, but in the last couple of years, Jack has taken that over because he can form up curb concrete much cheaper than it can be done by Heklovich and so forth. So they've been doing that. They had somebody, I think they still have somebody who's adept at that. So they actually saved the city a lot of money by fixing broken curbs. And the fact is, they break a lot of them with their plow trucks. So it's not, and as long as they can fix them efficiently, isn't that your memory, Mayor?
No, not quite.
No.
It's the responsibility of the homeowner. So if he's fixing the curb, he should actually be charging the homeowner.
Really?
We have an ordinance that says that sidewalks and curbs are responsibility of the homeowner. So if you have weeds going in your curb, I suggest you get rid of the weeds because over time it's going to break up the
Well,
curb.
All right,
some of these were damaged, I don't know.
I'll use my property for example. The back part, there's a part of the curb broken away, which is not, of course, my property. And the part that is on my property is where trucks turn and constantly go over the curb. So I don't feel the onus should be on me for trucks going over curbs and breaking it away.
Most of the concrete work that the Public Works does, most of the vast majority is on city property. They occasionally do something on, on public streets and stuff, so forth. But I don't know how much they do, I'd have to ask them. I know I have some property downtown and I had to make the driveway bigger. I had to pay for it myself. I mean, I had to call the contractor in, cut the thing and re-pour it. But, I don't know. I think these are special circumstances. I don't know. Does anybody, as long as this meeting has turned into an open forum, anybody know what curb and gutter work he's doing?
I think it's more storm related, storm.
Storm sewer?
Yeah, if they're doing catch basins, a lot of times the curbs get hacked up pretty bad, so.
And you could always call or email Jack.
All I remember is that when it came time to fix something, we didn't determine whose responsibility it was to fix it so much as we figured it was cheaper for Jack to do it in-house than to farm it out to Heklovich.
It is. And then same as sidewalks. So if the sidewalk's busted up, we go ahead and do the sidewalk, we build a homeowner.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't know, the billing process seems to have been kind of messed up in the last year and a half that I was not here, that nobody seemed to know who pays for what and who gets charged and where we send bills, if you know what I mean, including the IRS. But anyway, we'll get to that. Okay, anything else on item number 1? Anybody else want to pick on Public Works Department? We'll get to item number 2 here. Monthly Tag Center report to Public Works Committee. Did we have something from the Tag Center?
They did not provide me anything.
Okay. I'd like to see reports from all department heads. Item number 3, monthly Parks Department report to Public Works Committee. Did we get something from John
No, that would be Jake and.
or Jake? Oh, yeah, that's right. We have,
And we'll work with department heads to get them back in some of this.
okay. Item number 5. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all. We are adjourned. Who's next?
That would go down to Ken for finance.
Does he need the little pill too?
We'll give them all of it.
Call order the City of Mayville Finance Committee meeting agenda, or meeting at Monday, August 26, 2024, at 6:45. Yeah. Roll call
Alderperson Newman,
here.
Alderperson Olson,
Here.
Alderperson Smith.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Number 2, approval of the minutes.
I'll move to approve the minutes.
Olson first. I'll second. Newman second. Any citizens' comments?
Should we take the vote? All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. We'll get back to the swing of things today. Been a hot day. Citizens' comments, number 3. Any? Seeing none, move on to 4. And section 1, discuss possible action resolution 5937-2024, resolution establishing the 2024 fee schedule for the city of Mayville. Rita?
We give a little report on this and what we have done.
Stephanie Justman, our city
Just,
administrator.
thank you. Just the first couple of pages are the new format for the fee schedule. Things that we did update in here and that we would like to include. Some of the things are the zoning ordinance. Under the zoning, we've included quite a few of the site plan and updated the occupancy permit application to include all of the departments in the occupancy, and then plus they'll have to pay that $50 that you establish that fee with Kunkel for your building permit. So then that's in addition to the occupancy. We've also incorporated the EMS fee schedule into this, so that every year we can just update our fee schedule and they can include that into their budget. We are also, whatever we have updated, we've included that into the budget for the revenue part of the budget for 2025. The last couple pages is the comparison, what the fee was in 2023 as to the proposed fee that we're offering in this update. Yeah. We're also working on possibly adding into this for the budget process of fees for the fire department for fire runs, but that's something we would do at a different discussion, then incorporate that into your fee schedule.
Anyone have any comments?
That fee for the fire alarms, or that fee for building alarms that go off in commercial or industrial buildings? Or
Are
is it
you looking in their current fee schedule?
the one you're proposing changes to? Yeah.
I believe that's what we're charging for their contracted services for fire inspection,
Oh, okay. Not
for the annual and the seasonal inspections.
I do also think like they might have one for fire alarm.
Fire alarm.
It was for false alarms,
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
false gas calls, lift assists,
Fire department, if they get more than 2 in a year, they start
right?
charging.
But we didn't update that, that's the same, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
That's why it's not on my
Yep,
radar.
Chief Marks decided to keep that the same.
that's not the fee schedule.
It is in the fee schedule. It
Okay.
just, he kept the number the same. So it's not in the changes breakdown.
I think you're referring to like some future fee schedules that we might be charging. We're looking into that. We're just gathering information now, what we can and cannot charge for.
Correct.
I have a question for Ryan. Do we have an impound for animals that was overgrown and?
Oh, no, we don't do anything here locally. We take all the animals to.
We have a contract with Humane Society.
If we were to keep one for a short period of time, say we knew the owner and we were waiting for them, we have some kennel, like portable kennel carrier things like that.
Okay.
And we have food and all that.
Yeah, I knew back in the day there was somewhere before my time, a place to go, but I think it's,
Back in the water department, we haven't put dogs in there since I
Okay.
have looked at it.
all right, thanks.
So Stephanie, this is preliminary right now? It's not complete yet?
Recommendation to the common council.
So
And
this
then
is a,
if we decide to go with the fire department, that would be a separate resolution. And then we wouldn't have in there to incorporate into your fee
so you
schedule.
don't think this is ready to be approved
Yes, I
yet?
do think
Oh,
it
yeah.
is ready.
Just
Mhm.
ready?
We can
Okay.
incorporate that in at a later. time.
Later date.
So we're looking for a motion to move on to council.
I will make a recommendation to move it to council.
I'll second that.
Mr. Smith first. Olson second. Take a roll. Or all in favor?
Take a roll.
Yeah, we can do roll, since it pertains to money. Alderperson Smith,
Aye.
Alderperson Olson,
Aye.
Alderperson Newman.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Number 2, discuss with possible action ambulance contract renewals of rates for 2025, 2026, and 2027.
We can discuss it after, but I'll make a motion to approve it. We discussed it, I think, in the past.
Yep.
So I'll make a motion to approve it.
I will second.
Smith first, Olson second. All in favor?
Any discussion?
Oh, any discussion?
Good for you.
That would be,
I don't know, I think we've covered everything about it. The
Yeah.
contract. We made clear that the fourth ambulance is a trial thing. And so that's all I have to say. I'm okay with it the way it is. And I will say, unlike like my neighbor here, these are truly people who, well, everybody is, but these are people who really deserve all the support and accolades we can give them. They turned something that was hobbling along into something very successful, and it's a model for the whole county. And so far, it's been working out, and I think it will continue to work out, and I'm happy to have been a part of it. So,
I agree.
I hear that also.
Thank you. We appreciate it. Now these guys are gonna be mad at us.
So, all right, number 3, discuss possible action payment in response to IRS notice.
did we vote on
I'm
it?
sorry, I have to be a pain.
Did we-
Any other discussion and then vote?
Okay, there we go. Thank you. I thought we voted.
Don't mind me.
Bob was given all the praise. I forgot to vote. Do you take the roll on that?
I sure can. Alderperson Smith,
Aye.
Alderperson Olson,
Aye.
Alderperson Newman.
And that'd be an aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Wait till November, you can vote on all kinds of things.
Right, November. Number 3, discuss with possible action payment in response to IRS notice number 972 CG dated July 29, 2024.
So, administrator could probably.
Yep,
Okay.
tell us a little bit about that. We should pay the IRS.
We did get a notice from the IRS pertaining to our informational returns, W-2s for the period ending December 31st, 2022, and it's a late filing penalty of $20,240. So at this time, we can either dispute the penalty and not pay anything, or if you decide to pay the penalty, and then we can still dispute the penalty and ask for a refund at that time. The IRS is very behind it and short staff, so that's why it's taken this long for them to catch up. So whatever.
I think we should dispute it, because once they have your money,
You gotta get it back.
you gotta pry it out of their hands, and it's very difficult. That's my opinion. I'm very disappointed, as many of you know, that this even happened. A lot of negligence going on. But that's my opinion, to dispute it.
I've also directed the administrator to look at the insurance company to file a claim with errors and omissions. We have a policy on that, so you could
Yeah.
file with the insurance company.
I noticed you drew up a letter of asking for an abatement of it. Is that your recommendation that we pay it and then ask for it back, or don't you have a
Well, my concern
recommendation?
is that if we do lose the abatement, that they would go back into the state with interest and penalties
Oh, I
if
see
we
what you're
didn't
saying.
pay for it. That's what my concern was.
Is there any, I don't want to get into names, pointing fingers, but there are plenty of people we get pointed at, but is there any liability associated with this? In your opinion?
The employee,
Yeah, well, there seems to be more than one.
it
Might have
would be
been,
on the organization.
I mean, no, within, that could have caught this and didn't.
Employee is no longer working here. So
Well, was this something that was deliberate or just overlooked, or?
What happened was the W-2s were mailed out to the employees, so they had them for their tax filing. But then it was the transition from one employee to the other that was missed, that it wasn't filed.
Okay.
And so then they never went back to that quarter. It went on to the next quarter and continued filing.
So, I don't know, I'm not the chairman of this committee, but, so what is your recommendation? Your recommendation is to the letter of abatement and pay it and then ask for it back?
Correct.
And Kim, your recommendation was to not pay it and have them come after us.
Cameron has been in contact with people that have worked with this situation. He feels pretty strongly that we would get the refund. Or the
Who feels this?
Cameron
Okay,
Sawyer. who
well,
we
that's good to
contacted.
know, Cameron, yeah. So generally, if you admit and you pay, generally, they're more forgiving that way than if you,
We have gotten one other one back already too. It was much smaller.
We did get one back.
Yes, it was much smaller. It was $4,000.
How much time between asking for it back till we actually got it back?
No, I don't know. I just know we got the check back. I don't know when that process started.
I was with a car dealership and my own business, and we had some of these things, these clerical errors that happened inadvertently. And usually, if you're not habitual, they generally will forgive, they'll generally,
And plus, they're so short-staffed and
yeah.
so far behind. I mean, this
Right.
happened almost 2 years ago already.
So I'll take your advice and
I'm not,
Cameron's advice.
I'm not an
No, no,
attorney.
I'll take your recommendation and Cameron's, and I kind of agree, but it seems like, Mayor, what do you think?
I think that we should probably pay the bill and make it contingent upon us filing and making sure that Steph's gonna follow up with the insurance company, at least start the claim process, and
Okay.
at least then we'll cover our bases.
Well, then, I believe a motion is in order. I will recommend the action that's on the agenda, item number 3. The abatement and the file and hope and, I don't know. That's what I recommend, Chairman.
Is that a motion?
That's a motion.
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
Yeah.
You can ask that.
Any further discussion? We discussed first. That motion. I take the roll.
Certainly. Alderperson Smith,
Aye.
Alderperson Newman,
Aye.
Alderperson Olson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
So we got that. We're gonna make a payment and the payment letter
Yep, we'll recommend it to council that they make the payment, do
Thanks.
the abatement letter and file the insurance claim.
Number 4, discuss with possible action resolution 5943-2024, resolution amending election inspector wages.
Yes, that's me. When we were looking at the budget for 2025, the had brought up, it's been quite a while since our election inspectors have gotten a raise. So, late 2023, it's in the memo, but I'll just truncate it for you. I had reached out to a handful of municipalities, got responses from about 36, looked through the data for those populations around our size. Rate of pay for election inspectors usually, falls around the $12 to $13 mark. Our election inspectors in Mayville are absolutely fantastic. They're dedicated. They know their stuff. So I would ask that the committee consider recommending that council raise their rate of pay to $11 an hour. And then I would also ask that there be an additional amount given to the chief inspector for the duties they perform on election day. So it's $20 for a half day, $40 for a full day. That will also make it a little easier to budget, so my chief inspectors, if I can train up some more, aren't always getting that higher rate during training times and whatnot. So I thought that's a fair compromise.
Was it $11 now or 15 bucks?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm all over. Was 11 up to 13 an hour.
Because you said
Thank
11.
you.
You said 11.
Yes, so I apologize. It would raise to 13 an hour plus the election day additional sum for chief inspector.
I won't be able to vote on this anyway, but still, I remember 9 years ago, one of the election inspectors asked me to see if the council would consider raising them from $8 to $11, and we did that. So that's how long ago it's been. So they're due for this. So I support it.
I can make that motion to put this into effect, pay raise.
First by Olson, second, I second that motion also. Any discussion? No discussion. Take the roll.
Alderperson Olson,
Aye.
Alderperson Newman,
Aye.
Alderperson Smith.
Abstain.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you. Number 5, discuss with possible action potential revenue sources for the City of Mayville Fire Department.
I would recommend we table this until next month because we're still gathering information.
Good idea.
I'll make a motion to table it.
I'll second.
Motion by Smith, second by Olson. Take the roll.
Alderperson Smith,
Aye.
Alderperson Olson,
Aye.
Alderperson Newman.
Aye.
Motion carries.
5,
I'll make a
adjournment.
motion to adjourn.
Smith,
I'll second.
Olson. There we go. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Adjourned at 7:03.
All right, call the personnel meeting at 7 PM.
You got it. Alderperson Olson,
Here.
Alderperson Newman,
Here.
Alderperson Liebnow.
Here.
Quorum is present.
Okay, approval of the minutes of July 22nd, 2024.
Make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any citizens' comments? Seeing none? Discuss with possible action updating the City of Mayville employee handbooks. Okay, so we've been talking about this for quite a while. And what do you think would be a good thing to do to start engaging and doing this instead of talking about it? Do we need to meet on a certain night or put in our 2 cents in an email? What do you think, Annie, would be the best way to go about this?
I've seen a lot of municipalities where, especially once you have an administrator at the helm, they'll take a handbook piece by piece and go over it with department heads and come up with suggested or proposed changes and bring that to personnel to consider. It tends to be a little more streamlined.
Okay,
I don't know if Stephanie would like to add anything further. I don't want to overstep.
Well, as I was getting my feet wet, and I do see that your employee handbook is very fuzzy, confusing at sometimes, doesn't really lay out, for instance, your exempt, non-exempt, hourly versus salaried employees. And I talked to the attorney, the lead, the mayor had reached out to him to get a price, and it was, relatively easy for them to update it. But I think instead of just updating it and having the same confusion, we need to take it a little section at a time, redraft it, make sure it's clear, and it's something that the Common Council wants, and then move forward. I think the process will take time. We don't want to rush through this. We don't want to have the same confusion and same mess that we have right now, which
okay, so
it's
the
hard to
first,
understand.
the first thing in order probably would be to email department heads and have them email back what changes they think.
Well, that is okay, that's just one part, because we don't want an employee to write, that's gonna be just the way the employee wants it. You gotta make sure that you're the employer in this situation, and it's your employee in these, it's gotta be equal. So I would recommend that, I can definitely reach out to department heads and work with the attorney to make sure it's something that is legal, and then start with that process of updating it, starting at the beginning.
Okay.
Just doing a couple sections at a time each month. We have a full swing of the budget, we have a lot of other projects going on, so we don't want to, it's gonna take a year. Let's not rush through this.
Okay,
Kim, can I ask?
yes,
Yes, unfortunately, I was here for the 7 or 8 years. This has been tried and installed and tried again and installed. And I think Stephanie has it exactly right. And I think that especially about, on employees writing their own rules. However, the review by the attorney was just the boilerplate stuff that, typical conflict of interest stuff and employee behavior and so forth. The part asking, I think she should do what she was saying she was going to do to begin with, which is review the parts that are unclear to her and present those things to the personnel committee and have them work on to clear those things up, because we haven't really defined. Since this thing has been worked on, I think it's 12 years now, but 8 years seriously.
16.
16, Jesus. Anyway, and it's always gotten certain, and then it stops, but in that time, we have morphed, that's a terrible word, but we have changed into, we used to have a department head responsible for one department, then we had a department head that became responsible for 2 departments. Then we had somebody come in and was responsible for 3 and then goes back to 1. So the description of our employees has changed over time, who's responsible for what and what their duties are, and a lot of this has to do with that. And some of it should be more adaptable to the change in the city's makeup. A lot of times we have, like now we have a parks director and a public works director. Before we used to have a parks, public works, and city engineer all together in one. And those things changed, and whether they worked themselves, picked up a shovel, or whether they sat in an office and directed, those things are all important things. And I think the suggested work has to come from the city administrator. And then that's what I think, because that's what she has to do, is administer work rules, and she should make sure that they're clear to her and everybody else. And I think that's where the direction should come. That's my opinion, sorry to say.
Well, that's,
So in a short version, how should we word this, Stephanie, that would be fitting to at least start the process?
well, I'm gonna just start with the first couple pages and I'll present them at the next personnel committee. I would like that if we, I would like the contract to have with Dan Villette, but there's nothing in the budget. So I think we should budget for it in 2025, but in the meantime, we can do some of the lighter lifting stuff and get into the more difficult stuff once 2025 comes around and we can contract with an attorney.
Okay,
I mean, the money's pretty much expended for our
Yeah.
attorneys for this year.
all right, so we can at least start it amongst ourselves.
Right.
And then get forward and,
We're gonna do some of the introductions and some of the stuff that's
Okay.
really boring before you get into the heavy lifting.
okay. I am for that. So do we need to put a motion out there or just leave it as a discussion?
I just want to put my 2 cents in.
All right, please do.
I just think we need to, if there's anything glaring or out of date, obviously,
Oh, we got things that are
Well,
clearing, but I can work with them.
first of all, it needs to be updated version. There's been multiple changes. There's 16 years of, a line here, line here, line here, line here. That's all gonna be obviously in there.
Yeah, well, it says approved August 2022, but actually the last revision to this was in 2023, but it wasn't reflected on that. So a lot of people have an employee handbook that says August 2022 on the top, but it's not the most current one.
Right. So we need to be current, need updated, all the attorney changes, clean it up, obviously revise, and then present. There's one thing in there like, I looked over hierarchy with pay scale, that's gotta.
Yeah, that pay scale,
That's gotta get out of there, and then you get budget correctly, it doesn't make any sense at all. But we need an updated version out in people's hands, if we have that. But, yeah, clean up, revise, present.
My biggest problem with the last handbook, and I'm gonna bring it out so the public can hear it. I do not like seeing employees being fired without any process. I'm a firm believer in.
You do not have a
verbal warnings.
resolution process in your handbook.
Right,
That's something that
I
needs to be added.
just,
So there's a grievance process now for handbook.
But you don't have who do you go to first? Who do you go to second? And what should be the next process? If you don't get resolution within the first 2 steps, what's the next step? So that we definitely need to add into.
yeah, I just don't ever wanna see somebody come in and say, you're fired.
Or dismissed.
That just is wrong. So that's what's important to me when we do this process.
That's important for your employee handbook to be treating everybody fairly.
Absolutely,
So we hired a city administrator to do
that's
that.
right, that's right. All right, is there any other discussion pertaining to this?
I have one, is this, if I can ask,
Yeah,
is this gonna be a living document? In other words, if you make changes, will they be effective?
No,
And,
it won't be until we're completely done. And
okay,
then we're gonna adopt one book at the end.
so the changes you make over the next year and 2 months, they won't be
It won't be long
operable until,
Right.
yeah,
until
okay.
you adopt it.
All right,
Unless there's something that absolutely has to be adopted right away. So we can definitely make that
Okay.
update.
that could be a little bit, that's something we passed but haven't put in the final ordinance yet, but you're really supposed to do this, but it hasn't been codified yet.
Well, it says in the employee handbook that all full-time employees are supposed to be approved by personnel committee, and we haven't been doing that.
No, I know,
There's a lot of things that haven't been done the way they should be done.
right? But we don't have much control over them because we don't even send in their social security. So,
yeah, we need to get back in order. definitely. All right, any other discussion? Then can I get a motion for an adjournment at 7:14?
Motion.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Thanks for coming, everybody. Oh, yeah, and pray no one